Welcome to the WellPlayed DLC podcast, Australia's juiciest gaming podcast. I'm your host this week, Zachary Jackson, and joining me is the great man, Kieron Verbruge.
I was like, who is it going to be? Hello.
Hello. The also great man, Nathan Hennessy.
Very kind of you to say, Zachary. Pleasure to be here.
Pleasure as always. And the man in the green cap, Adam Ryan.
Yeah, I was on tenterhooks waiting for it. Hello, I'm here too.
You're also great, my friend.
Thanks, mate.
No
Thanks.
worries, no worries. How we doing?
Please
Yeah,
just
not
say
bad.
that we're now officially out of summer, right? Is that, well, I mean, kind of. I think we generally agree that
By the
January,
calendar, I
March,
think, yeah.
summer's behind us. But I think I've successfully done my first summer without a sunburn, so I'm pretty bloody stoked. Pretty
Nice.
good
Good
proud of
work.
myself. You can tell I've got that luminescent pale glow. That's definitely a summer without exposure.
You've been bathing in what's the fucking LED light? What do you have at your work? Yep, let's go with that. Good stuff. Well done. Anyway, big show tonight. Always a big show, but this one is particularly big because we've got Adam telling us all about Split Fiction. We've got Nathan, who's gone hands-on with Clair Obscur, Expedition 33. And old KV over in the corner, he has been behind the wheel at Sonic Racing, whatever that game is called. I don't know.
He's
what the
just
full
been
game is
jawking
called.
it to Sonic in the corner.
Yeah.
Uh,
Absolutely cranking my fucking hedgehog.
That he has been doing. Can't wait to see that. Now, before we get into that, Adam, what else have you been playing before we hit up your review?
Oh, Jesus. Not a great deal. It has just kind of been nose to the grind with Split Fiction for the last week or so. Continuing on with Blasphemous, I'm still having a wonderful time with that.
yeah.
Game kicks all kinds of ass, and just the art direction and character designs are phenomenal. I want those as tattoos on my body everywhere.
So good.
But yeah, that's kind of as far as I've gotten. There is a Nathan, I'm sure you've seen this. There is a board game adaptation that's on
Yes.
GameFound at the moment.
Getting all the advertising.
Yeah, it looks like a big box game with a whole bunch of minis. I don't know. I'll probably fucking buy it. Who knows? But that's about all I've done this week. Outside of Split Fiction has been Blasphemous. Loving it.
So pleased
Haven't
for you.
touched any more of Keep Driving?
Keep what? No, I haven't.
Nice, good stuff. Nathan, how about you? What have you been getting?
Very little. So I've leaned into a bit of comfort food. And for me, the comfort food at the minute is Skyrim, and got to kind of be gentle with that one because it's very easy to kind of trip, fall over yourself, and land in like 100-hour rabbit hole. Like I'm very tenuously skirting around what is currently a very bulging quest log journal. And just kind of avoiding all landmarks as I kind of narrowly try and make my way through the critical path, because I think this is like my 5th or 6th attempt. I've never concluded the main quest path. I'm having a joyous time. That game's just got a magic that has persisted, and it's so sad to me that Bethesda have never really, to me, quite hit that gold standard sense. It's just an action game that feels so satisfyingly adventurous. Just get lost in it.
I love
Take your own time.
I love the image of you like very carefully playing it and then going, "Oh fuck, it's been 3 days." And you've just, joined
it's so
joined the
easy.
Brotherhood, and you've gone off the critical path again. Now, I have a
easy.
question off the back of it though. What class or what's I know that Skyrim kind of bucks that trend, but what's the what have you haven't gone stealth archer, I'm guessing. You've gone something a bit more
I've
creative.
done that many an attempt previously. So I've kind of pushed myself towards things I haven't normally done in those previous attempts. So I am a class Imperial, with the irony being I've sided with the rebellion, the Stormcloak uprising, the folks trying to retake their land from the Imperial invaders.
Love
Like a Turncloak, having fun with that, but mostly just dabbling in two-handed weapons and a lot of like obscure sorcery, like trying to buff companions and make myself invisible, and just kind of exploring those pathways which I haven't before. It requires a little bit more patience, but it's just fun to get lost in.
Nice.
The game still surprises me all these years later.
Good stuff. KV, other than Sonic, you've been don't know. I've got nothing witty.
Nothing exists outside of Sonic, man.
No, well, I mean that had a time limit on it, unfortunately. So, yeah, I've been dabbling in a few things, predominantly a game that we're not ready to talk about yet. But
Yep.
at least one that we will talk about shortly, which I'm excited for.
Very good.
I wonder.
Yeah.
All right. Well, start
about
your
you?
engine and me. I haven't got nothing, mate. I got nothing for you. Got nothing to share other than actually no. The thing I have been playing, we'll talk about soon. But that's it. That's it. Just capital C content for me.
Mm.
Behind the scenes, I've been doing a lot behind the scenes. There's a new Made in Australia episode coming this March, so that's been recorded. Good stuff. There's an interview with Timon Smetkala. I did get his name right. He butchered mine. Shout outs. And the
Must be nice to be on that side of the fence for once, eh?
Yeah, I know. He's the Dying Light franchise director. So I had a good chat with him about The Beast, which is coming. That is actually being uploaded. So it should be published by the time this bad boy is up on your feed. But yeah, that's it from me. KV, Sonic, tell me.
Oh, you want to talk about Sonic now? It's
Let's do
good.
it. Okay, good.
Yeah. No, I managed to sneak my way into the recent closed network beta for Sonic Racing Cross Worlds, which, as I think we've recently discussed, as soon as they reveal that it's essentially a spiritual successor to Sonic Racing Transformed, I flooded my basement. And yeah, it's the beta had basically just like a basic online quick race mode, a few tracks, a few characters to try out. But even based on this kind of small slice of it, I'm all over it. I'm super keen. It plays really well. Like the driving model is really, really good. The like new gimmick that they have, which is a portal that appears at the end of every first lap that takes you to like a completely different track, is really, really cool. It's already got some obscure Sonic characters in it and like 28 slots in the roster, so I think that the cast is going to be pretty stacked. Yeah, for a beta that I could basically only just do one mode and 3 tracks, I was pretty keen. You have a question?
I do. It's not really it's a question, but 28 characters. Is this just Sonic? Is this Sonic Universe? Is it? I didn't realize it was that big. That's a lot of people.
Oh,
Okay.
it's enormous.
Yeah. To answer your question,
Right.
yes, and also yes. There's a lot for them to pull from in the Sonic universe, but I also suspect there will be characters from other Sega properties. I feel like that's been hinted at or like talked about in the past.
Right.
As Sega All Stars is kind of tangentially related to the Sonic racing games as well, or
So the first 2 were Sonic and Sega All Stars games.
right? Okay.
Then with Team Sonic Racing, they moved to purely the Sonic side of things.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And then like mechanically, this goes back to those older games, so it would make sense that they would also bring outside characters in.
I have one other quick question, and I don't know if you can answer it because you said there were 3 tracks and there's a portal at the end of the first lap. So if I say go to track 1, will that portal always take me to the same place, or does it kind of mix and match?
Well, that's the cool thing. 3 is a number I threw out. There might have been like 4 or 5.
Sure, yeah.
Tracks that you could select in the beta. But yeah, no, the cool thing about it is that those tracks are randomly pulled from like the selection. So
that's cool.
Essentially, whoever is in first place at the end of the first lap gets to pick between 2 portals, depending on which lane they drive through. So the first one will be like randomly selected, but it will show you what it's going to be, and then the second one is always just like a completely random, like you don't know what you're going to get until you drive through it.
I fuck with that.
And then that
very
kind
much.
of dictates where everyone else goes. So yeah, it's very cool. So there's like it's a cool little incentive to like pull out in front quickly, because then you get to decide at least a little bit like where you go.
Yeah.
But it also means like you can't just like go into a race and be like, oh, I know this track. I'm really good at this track,
Mm.
because you don't know what the other half of the race is going to be.
That's really cool. I dig that.
Yeah.
Sick.
Yeah.
Nice. And when's this game come out?
It doesn't have a release date yet, but 2025.
They're waiting to see when Mario Kart's dropping.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100% waiting
Absolutely.
to see what's going on with Mario Kart.
What do you what's your Sonic gut tell you?
Should I just like pick a date?
Basically.
Yeah,
I suppose so.
specific date.
Let's
Yeah.
let's go November 2nd.
All right.
Okay.
That's when it's coming out officially.
Lock it in.
I'm
Heard
gonna
here
look that up and
first.
it's gonna be a fucking Saturday or something. It's a Sunday. Okay, November. Let's go November 6th.
All right. That's good. Good stuff. All right. Any more thoughts on Sonic? Any more questions? All right. Good stuff.
Keep moving.
Adam,
Hello.
the main course is served. You've been playing EA and Hazelight's Split Fiction, the
Yes.
two-player game. Tell us all about it. What do you think?
I played. Yeah, so we got 2 codes, one for myself, one for Kieran, and instead of playing together, I played through the entire thing with Key instead, because why not? But yeah, it is as with all of Hazelight's games, they kind of give you the idea that playing couch co-op is the way that they're designed to be played, and they've kind of implemented an online mode because that's just the way of the world, right? So I don't know. All's well that ends well, I suppose. But yes, this is the newest game from Hazelight. So previously they've done A Way Out, and most recently It Takes Two, which was exceptionally well received. One game of the year. Fantastic. This is the next kind of iteration in what they started doing with It Takes Two. So it's a third-person action platformer at like a foundational level, but it has just a shitload of other mechanics at a ridiculous speed throughout the course of I'd say maybe 12 to 14 hour campaign. But I kind of want to do this a little bit differently to how we usually do. So story wise, you and your partner play as Mio and Zoe, who are 2 writers that want to be published. So they go to Radar Publishing on an invitation from, can't remember his first name, James Rader, the owner and founder of the publishing firm. They get there, turns out he's a giant corporate dickbag, and he wants to strap all of these writers into a machine that will turn their ideas into a simulation. Sounds weird, but cool. Unfortunately, the simulation also steals all of their ideas because, I don't know, profit and loss, bottom line, money's good, CEOs, all that wonderful shit. Mio gets cold feet just before she gets put into the machine. She stumbles into Zoe's little bubble, and that kind of fuses their consciousness together, and they're now in the same simulation. So the story, kind of like the crux of it, is cool enough, and it's a vehicle to kind of get them in the same world, and so you can do the hopping between the 2 different genres, sci-fi and fantasy. I want to start with the things that I don't particularly vibe with, and then I can get into the things that I do. So like I said, story largely I enjoyed. I do think that Hazelight need to work on their writing, particularly in the dialogue department. It's okay for the most part, and other times it is really, really like MCU level kind of cheesy, corny cringe. I put up with it mostly because I know that the demographic for these games, particularly this one, will be quite wide. It'll be a lot of parents playing with their kids, so you have to kind of keep it PG and palatable and whatnot. That doesn't mean the writing has to be bad, though. Like, there's a moment, so Zoe is kind of like this outgoing British country girl who's really into fantasy. Mio is an American sci-fi writer who's really reserved and a bit of a dick at the start of the game. There's a moment where Zoe has to explain to Mio that as writers, they tend to put a bit of themselves in their writing, like they pull from their personal experiences, which is like a ridiculous no shit sentence. So I don't know. There were a few of those moments, and the dialogue just didn't quite hit for me. Also, Raider, who is the main villain, I just don't give a fuck. He is such a cardboard cutout, nothing villain who doesn't touch the sides at all. He's ever present, like between levels, you'll have little back and forths with him verbally. He's just nothing. Like he's white toast. Couldn't tell you anything about him outside of money, 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 money. Wants to, serve the shareholders, and that's about it. Those are my big gripes. A lot of them, writing kind of centric. Outside of that, I liked It Takes Two. I really like Split Fiction. So the game starts, and it does there's I think 6 major levels, and they bounce between the ideas from both writers. So one is very fantasy based, one is sci-fi, and you switch between. And each level has its own core mechanic, and each character will have a different mechanic each as well. So the first one is like a cyberpunk world where they're cybernetic ninjas. Mio has a katana that obviously can be used as a sword, but it also, when thrown at a surface, will change the direction of gravity. And Zoe has like this energy whip that, again, can be used as a weapon, but can also pick up and interact with things in the environment as well. And throughout the course of these levels are about an hour and a half long, roughly, you'll need to use these mechanics in tandem with each other, hence the cooperation part, to kind of progress through the level platform. There's some stealth elements in there with certain levels as well, just kind of make your way through the level. So each of the major worlds will have a different mechanic. I don't really want to spoil too many of them because it's kind of the fun of discovering them. The trailers give away a couple, but I don't want to get too much into that. But throughout the levels, it'll also just change. It changes genre a bit too. Like you can go from the third-person platforming into like 2D platforming, into a top-down twin-stick shooter. There's one part I can't help but spoil where one of you is a ball and the other uses paddles like pinball, and that's how you get through the platforming level. Fucking fantastic. Loved that to pieces. So it's not just the mechanics that they introduce in the level foundationally that change, but the level itself and the genre that you're in also kind of gets mixed in there as well. So like, without going through a list of all of the different mechanics and systems, it's ridiculous. Like it's a mile a minute kind of ideas getting thrown at you. Sometimes maybe a little bit too fast, I would wager. It does get a bit frantic and manic, but it's unreal how well realized most of, if not all of these ideas are, even if they're used for like 5 minutes. There are some mechanics that are used for an entire level, others that literally you use them once or twice and then you just move on and you don't have to think about it for too long. But yeah, it's very, very engaging. Before I continue on, I know, Kieron, you have also played some of, if not all of, Split Fiction as well, yeah?
I've played. I think we've got like one main level to go, and then like the epilogue kind of part.
Is what I've said so far ringing true, or I get the feeling that you might be not as keen?
No, I feel like what you're saying I agree with. But maybe more strongly on the negative.
Yeah.
There are a lot of things that like story-wise, I completely agree. It's a bit nothing. And for a story that hinges on stealing ideas from writers, they've picked like the writers with the two like worst ideas in the world to like steal ideas from. It's just like the most generic shit, and I'm like, why would you want this?
Yeah.
Like it doesn't do anything like interesting with that idea other than like this one likes trolls and one likes fucking laser guns. And I kind of like wish they'd sort of explored that a bit more. But like I think like my partner and I bounced off. I don't think we're gonna finish it. We've given up on it.
Yeah, right.
Mainly, I think mainly an accessibility thing in a lot of ways. It presumes a lot of video game play knowledge that not everyone's going to have. I feel like It Takes Two was a little bit gentler in mechanics and how it introduced them and how complex they were. So that's interesting, and also just visually, I know we haven't really spoken about that, but like It Takes Two had a lot of very like because it had the whole shrunken down aspect. The character models were like chunky, the environments were big, the objects were big, and when you split that screen in half, it wasn't that much to deal with. But one thing we've found throughout playing so far is that there's so much detail and everything's so pulled out that when you split that screen in half and you play in couch co-op, sometimes it can be incredibly hard to get a read on what's actually happening.
Yeah,
and even just like the character silhouettes are so similar, whereas in It Takes Two they were very different. So we've kind of butted heads against that a little bit.
They definitely try to they color code the characters to kind of give you more of an idea as to who's who. They definitely could have done that more though, particularly if you're in like I don't really know how to kind of the hub world, I guess, where it's kind of like you're not actively in an idea, it's just the simulation. They're in white suits and they've just kind of got a symbol on their back and like they're a different color, but you'd struggle if you didn't know, like, I'm on the left side of the screen, you're on the right. Yeah, it could definitely be a bit of a problem. But I definitely agree with like the gamification of it, I suppose, or like the perceived knowledge or skill level. When playing It Takes Two, was maybe a little bit more, because I also played that with my partner. I very much led in that situation. I was like, this is what we need to do, this is how we do it. And I think because it was a little bit easier, that kind of graded Key the wrong way, because she was like, yep, not an idiot, I understand, you press X to jump. In in Split Fiction, it was kind of the opposite, whereas I would kind of take my hands off the wheel a bit, but she was very often being like, I don't know what the fuck we're doing, you're going to have to explain to me what I'm meant to be doing. Something obvious for me, not so much for her. So yeah, depending on who you play with, I think, I mean, it just very much depends on who you're going to be playing with and how much you are okay with backseat gaming, I suppose. But no, valid criticisms, I think. Zachary Jackson.
So I've played a little bit as well, and Anna loves it.
Yep.
She really enjoys it. No surprises there, really. This is very much a game that she would enjoy. She's just, she's happy to be there, mate. She's happy to be there, sitting on the couch with a controller in hand. She's she's 6 years old. She loves it. She's actually not 6, by the way, just for the record. I align more with Kieron.
Yep.
Especially,
I thought you might.
Especially on the gameplay bits. There are parts where I don't know what the fuck we're doing. Like there was a bit like we've only done the ninja space thing.
Yep.
And there was one, or there were a couple particular moments. One where you're in those tunnels and you're in the car thing.
Yep.
And you have to drive
yeah.
And we didn't know. Like I wasn't in the car. I was on the I was on the gun. But we just kept, mate. There's a part where you have to change, and I, I didn't know because I'm not fucking driving. But we just kept running into that same wall over and over and over again. It was just like, this is not fun anymore. And then I had to take over. Then I couldn't figure out what the fuck to do because the game hadn't told us that you can fucking, you can jump lanes. So it wasn't until I just kept fucking around pushing all these buttons and eventually
you fell into the solution.
Jumped off into the next thing. And then there was another thing when when my character, who was the ninja, she flipped around into a different verticality or whatever. And there was a moment where you have to get across, and if you jump onto the bit, it fries you, right? But you had to they had to throw the bits. It was just like, I think that there was a lot of stuff that happened that didn't have any explanation. And we figured it out. But I feel like like It Takes Two, you kind of didn't need to kind of figure it out. You just kind of it was obvious enough. And we've hit a couple of brick walls.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like
I
we're
think
not
Yeah.
we're not that far in anyway. So
I think it's like obviously not every game has to be for everyone, but I think like It Takes Two
Mm.
potentially set up like a vibe. And I think a lot of people who enjoyed that, who maybe aren't regular gamers, might find that frustrating.
mm,
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what the reception is because you're right. I think that the general kind of gaming audience, people who, I don't know, buy 1-2 games a year, don't seem to care too much about like developers and their history too much outside of like, I don't know, Rockstar makes GTA, Treyarch makes Call of Duty, right? But I think It Takes Two, a lot of the people that played that will be waiting for the next game that Hazelight brings out. So yeah, I hope that it hits for them. It hit for me. Like obviously I'm far more leaning on the positive side of things. Just the variety that it throws at you, I think, is
Yeah.
unbelievably commendable. And it doesn't like I said, the levels go for like an hour and a half. You're not stuck to that world for the entire time. If it's starting to get a bit long in the tooth, there are side stories that pop up. They're like riffs in the world that will take you to the other character's story or idea, and that'll be kind of like a little micro mission. And they're kind of the more experimental, I suppose, kind of wackier stories.
They're like often the best bits.
Oh, without a doubt.
Yeah.
There are 2 levels, one for each character that they're not as maybe shocking as the elephant level in It Takes Two, but they're definitely of the same kind of cloth. There's the very last side story. I don't know if you've gotten to that, Kieran, that takes like a violent turn that is fantastic.
I know I've
really...
done one of the ones that you're probably thinking of.
Yeah. Which I think has been in trailers and whatnot. It involves
Yeah.
pigs. It's pretty great. But yeah, like I definitely came away from it. I think I enjoyed it maybe a little bit more than It Takes Two. Maybe by and large. I think mainly it's because at any given moment I had a giant dumb smile on my face, and I looked over and Key did as well. And that goes a long way for me, right? I just think pure enjoyment levels. It ticked a lot of boxes for the 2 of us. And I didn't get too frustrated too often. The camera was definitely, I agree, is you do battle it quite a bit. You have half the real estate that you would in a regular non-co-op game, and it can get pretty busy, particularly in boss fights. I think it was a bit messy, but overall, had a really good time. Loved it. I would recommend it to play couch co-op if you can. Obviously, if you do want to play online, it does have the Friends Pass that It Takes Two did. So you have to buy 1 copy, then you can invite someone else to play along with you, which is great because you shouldn't have to buy 2 copies of a co-op game. But I, at the end of the day, came to an 8.5, which, if I'm correct, I think is what you gave It Takes Two back in the day as well, KV. So there you go.
Yeah. Nice.
There you go. Nathan, you got any interest in Split Fiction?
Not really, guys. Not really. It's, It Takes Two was cool. Like, I got it. It just didn't sing for me. So, in fact, that's kind of my feeling about all the Hazelight stuff. I get the appeal. It's just not for me.
Did you like A Way Out? Okay.
No,
Nah,
but
look-
but I don't see any issue with it.
Very good. Well, hopefully you're about to talk to us about something you did like, because you've gone hands-on with Clair Obscur Expedition 33.
Oh, haven't I indeed? Yes. So this is a debut title coming up from smallish French studio Sandfall Interactive, published by Kepler. This is quite an unusual game. So stylistically, this is a homage to the Japanese role-playing game genre, exemplified, or rather, like notable titles: Final Fantasy, Dragon Quest, and everything that then falls under those. Persona, of course. And this is very much a kind of what those games would look like, and those stories and those characters and those systems if we presented it in a very much more, I don't know, like Western centric, or what might be typified as a more commonly Western visual setting. So this is kind of all very 19th century France, kind of through the kaleidoscope of somebody's twisted imagination that sees everything kind of a world fragmented and disrupted, and very, very interesting. The game starts with a lot of front-loaded exposition that's gonna it definitely lost me. I've had to refer to like Steam pages and stuff to kind of get a grasp on what's actually occurring in this story. The gist of it seems to be there's this monstrous entity called the Paintress, and every year she's got this big monolith that everyone around the world can see, and she paints a number on it, and that number usually descends every year, and that number represents the age that people can live to that die. So she's about to paint 33 on it, which means everyone who's 33, they're just gonna do the old Thanos click and fucking vanish. So that's kind of a cool setup. I didn't get any of that from the games. Like, in case you missed it, opening trailer, I missed all of it. So we are forming every year. Also, an expedition sets out from this kind of central human hub into what's called the continent, the surrounding world that's kind of untamed and mysterious and very violent. Every year an expedition sets out. Your expedition immediately after just like a day of setting out just gets mightily fucked up and assumedly just torn to bits. There's some involvement from Andy Serkis. He just kind of appears and he's like 50 years old, and everyone's like, what the fuck? That's a 50-year-old. They don't exist. And he just like goes on a slaughter spree. So that's kind of cool. Everyone's got really trendy kind of faux neo, French aristocratic outfits that just look wonderful. In fact, the visuals in this game is going to be one of the big draws. If you see a trailer for this, you're going to know what you're in for, because the in-game graphics look as good as the trailers. The trailers look amazing. It's all in Unreal Engine 5. Very high fantasy, very unusual fantasy of the likes I've not really seen before. And it's all rendered blissfully. Like, this small team has really gone all out and produced something that looks tens, if not hundreds of millions of bucks. This thing is incredible. But it is very much on rails. Like your zones are very Final Fantasy 13 coded. They're very front-facing corridors. So there's not much interaction with the world. It's very theme park-esque. Just looks amazing around you, and you kind of go along your merry way. You'll get into combat scenarios with each of these areas in the continent are kind of like biomes. They kind of have a theme, earth, wind, fire, whatever that may be. And the biome that the demo starts us in, that I've played, which, as I said, is just shortly after the start of the game, is everything's like concrete or stone. So there's all these stone golems floating around, and you run up to them in your little forward-facing exploration, which is whatever. You initiate a combat. It's a very turn-based combat that stylistically, the UI looks like it's drawing a lot from Persona, which is very swell. There's a little bit too much text going on that's a little bit hard to read, and the text, it's just a little bit too wordy for the elegance of what modern JRPGs are doing, in my opinion. Not a big deal, that's nitpicking. But it all functions really well and assumes you've finished a JRPG before, because it doesn't hold your hand too much. When you initiate a skill, skills all have elemental flavors, and there's all this, typical elemental weaknesses. And if you hit an enemy that has an elemental affinity, like you hit an earth monster with earth, they heal up and stuff like that. It's all stuff that JRPG players have seen before. So that's great. It does introduce some new twists. So every character has their own sort of gimmick. Gustav, voiced by Charlie Cox, the main character that you start off with, old Daredevil. He's kind of got like a robotic arm or something that like powers up using certain abilities, and then he can use that powered up arm to sort of then augment those same abilities for like huge overpowered attacks that feel very satisfying. There's also, when you launch abilities, there's a little quick time event. So if you time your little inputs correctly, you can power it up even more. There is an accessibility setting that just turns that off. If you don't like that, and I don't really like that, so you can just turn that off at no penalty. Cool. But you can't turn off. There's there is real-time defense. So when an enemy goes to attack your characters, you can time a dodge, and the dodge window is usually pretty generous, and characters have like really elaborate wind-up animations. So I actually love this about this game. You're going to have to study characters' attack animations, enemies' attack animations in a turn-based JRPG. Don't really see that outside of, I guess, Mario RPGs. And this is definitely, there's a lot more going on here than a Mario RPG, so I'm very excited for that. Alongside the dodge, there's a very Souls-like riposte system or a parry system where you got to time that motherfucker like on the frame, and if you do it and you do it well, it lands a tremendous, devastating return blow that can see enemies just virtually wiped out. It's extremely satisfying. Of course, if you miss that window, this game is hard. Like if you take a blow to the face because you chose not to dodge it, you thought you were good enough to parry it, it'll just wipe out half your health. So I died several times in this as an experienced JRPG player, but that's just because I haven't found my flow with it. I don't think this is a particularly challenging game to get into. It's just testing your ability for like skill timing and how you judge frames. And I think, as I say, generally, if you've finished a single JRPG, you've got the credentials to play this comfortably. It sounds amazing as well. Every biome has a mix of different sound influences. I've heard everything from like choir chants and sort of weird dirges to sort of funky pop techno stuff in like underwater. There's a very broad range of sound here, but it's all masterfully done, and there's nothing I didn't immediately vibe with and want to hear more of. So the short of it, guys, because I don't have much more to tell you about Clair Obscur Expedition 33, because it's mostly vibes here, because I can't really decipher the story, and yeah, it's masterful in the production values. Like I don't think we'll see many games this year priced at this price point with this kind of production value. This game will launch on sale for, I think it's on sale now in pre-order, but will remain on sale for the first 3 or 4 weeks of launch. I know Steam's got it for $63. This game looks the business for $63. And sounds amazing. My one issue, yes, jump in, Adam.
I have one very, very, very quick question, only because you mentioned the dashingly handsome Charlie Cox as the main character, and I know that we've got Ben Starr. You said Andy Serkis. Vocal performances. I feel like this kind of is a given, but are they top quality? I'm assuming.
Yeah, this game really wants to like zone in on that, and this game has a lot of cutscenes and it's a lot of character drama. And if you're gonna do a game like this that's gonna focus so much time pulling you away from the gameplay for character drama, they better be like some really fucking good characters doing some really good drama. So yeah, I'm really stoked that they've got these actors, and what we've seen particularly of Charlie Cox and his offsider in Luna, whose name I can't recall. Brilliant stuff. I'm sold. I don't know what they're talking about. I don't know what they're referring to, because every sentence is like stacked with proper nouns. That, again, I'm so front loaded, I can't decipher any of it. But I'm in. I like the heart. There's so much sincerity in the acting, and as I said, because the visuals are so bloody gorgeous, the facial animations are top notch in and out of cutscenes. It's they've put so much time and effort in here. I hope that it's just a game that doesn't get padded out as JRPGs can do, because combat, guys, does take a while. Single enemy can take you up to 2 minutes. You add in a couple more enemies in that encounter, you're just increasing it. There's no real way to fast forward through. It's slow. If they just chuck loads of enemies at you in a given zone, the game just slows down. So I'm hoping that doesn't become too much of an issue.
Just on the price, so physical, you can buy it physical. I thought maybe you.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Be able to, yeah, it's $89 or $90 on EB. I haven't checked
Sure.
EB, for example, but interestingly, price point's the same as Steam on the PSN store or PS store.
Yeah,
not bad.
I find it so attractive, and the fact that it requires so little investment for you to just be wowed by what this product is. Like it's gonna punch you in the face right early, and it's confronting and it's mature. And again, I don't know what's going on, but I'm entranced by everything they're putting in front of me. I haven't really mentioned the violence. It's a very violent game. Go, Kieron.
Sorry to interrupt your little
We'll get back to it.
yeah. I'm just looking at going back and looking at trailers and screenshots. Is there also an overworld?
There is an overworld, which I will only briefly mention. It's very much in the style of Ni no Kuni or Dragon Quest, where it just zooms out a little bit. It's not a big open world, it's very
Yes.
condensed, and it's just kind of to connect the different biomes. But again, it's very much that flavor of you
Good
and your
enough.
party. It's zoomed out just a little bit. You and your party are sort of jogging through the overworld. You can still initiate combats, but ultimately, it's just a little filler between your biomes. I like it. It looks nice again. Like it all looks nice, right? So it's hard to turn your nose up at.
I'll always prefer that approach instead of like you walk through a gate and you've gone from desert to like snow. There's something
Yeah.
about an overworld that just it
Mm.
hits the spot
Just for
with
some continuity.
Yeah, right. Absolutely, agreed.
It still very much is you go to the sand area and there is a big portal there, and then you go like Crash Bandicoot, you go through the portal. Now you're in
Nice.
the hallwayed sand world, and it's all on rails from there. It's very PS3 coded in that there might be a little like branching pathway off to the left. That's a little treasure. You get back on the main path or pathway to the right. That's an optional enemy. Then you get back onto the main path. Yeah.
Mm.
And the
Saying
violence,
all the right
last point I
things.
was going to make, you will come across former expeditions. So the previous year's teams, you'll find them, and fuck, it's violent. And the way the game addresses it is kind of heartbreaking. Like, it's only within like 2 days that Gustav is like just his entire being is destroyed. He's just seen so much horrible stuff, and then that's the character we've got to see through our journey. So it's going to be a mature game, I think, guys. It's I think there's going to be some confronting shit in there.
I'm so excited.
Yeah, I broadly speaking am too. My only concern is that the gameplay could get a little slow on that back end. Fingers crossed.
So this is coming to all platforms.
All
Sorry,
contemporary platforms.
PC,
minus
PS5, and
Switch.
Xbox Series. And
April 24.
April 24. April 24. So there you go. Not too far away.
Mm,
You other two
mm.
lads, I know that Adam, you had a bit of a
I'm in.
hard on.
I was in
Alright.
regardless. Something about the visuals of like the melted Eiffel Tower get me in there. But everything Nathan said has made me even more excited for it. So yeah, very, very keen.
Good stuff. KV?
Oh yeah. Massive
Oh, yeah.
massive boner for this one.
Yeah, if you can
Absolutely.
come for the
It just-
vibes, I think you'll be happy.
It gives
Yes.
me it gives me Lost Odyssey in a lot of ways.
Yeah,
And that makes me happy.
Oh,
Just like
yeah.
not in theme or anything, just like vibe wise.
Yeah,
Mm.
totally. Yeah.
Cool.
Zach, are you keen to play this
Yeah.
turn-based JRPG like?
You might tune in
Nah.
for the movie.
I'll tune in for the movie, whatever that means.
Yeah.
They're doing a movie, aren't they? I'm not
Yeah,
making that up.
I
yeah.
think they
Oh,
are,
they
yeah.
are, right. Okay,
Yeah.
right.
100%.
He thought I was talking shit.
A little bit, yeah. A little bit. What I did was like, yeah, sure. Like, I'm keen for the movie. I don't know anything
It
about it. But I'm
seems
keen for
like
it.
Sandfall and Kepler are really going hard in on this as a new franchise, we suspect.
Quick roundtable question. Can you name a game that Kepler have done off the top of your head?
Negative.
Interesting.
Can you?
I feel like there's some
Yeah, some big games.
big ones. Yeah.
Scorn.
Go on.
No, Scorn.
dude,
Scorn.
Oh, Scorn.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I
Oh.
would have
They
missed
did
that. No.
Pacific
I
Drive.
care
I'm
way
pretty
less
sure.
about Scorn than I do about Gorn.
They did.
Oh, they did do Pacific Drive.
They did Pacific Drive.
Yeah.
They did
I still haven't
Sifu.
touched that.
They did Sifu?
Yeah,
Really?
they
Like
did.
publishing wise.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's all I can think of.
Okay,
Let's have a look.
so I haven't finished any of these games. Right, it's gone under my radar.
Wow.
Oh, they did Flint like the Siege of Dawn.
Oh yeah.
Hey, you're
Oh,
old,
they
mate.
actually did
Around it.
big old Ultros. One of the
Oh, well
Okay.
done.
yeah, which I forgot, obviously. There
Yeah,
you go.
good catalog.
Apparently, no one knows it though.
No, I definitely don't.
Shout outs. All right, good stuff. Speaking of shout outs, do we have any shout outs this week? Let's have a look at the dirty doco over here.
Oh.
There is a Carmen San Diego review coming. I can tell you that much. Embargo is The embargo will be dropped by the time this comes out, so I can go through the. I'll load up the doco. Let's have a look here. This will be interesting. Oh. Mark says, Carmen Sandiego is a welcome addition to a franchise that continues to educate in all the right ways. For better or worse, it doesn't mix the formula up too much, but any young one should find much to like. Just be sure to stick with a portable platform to enjoy it best. He gives it a 7.5.
There you go.
Any of you folks play the Carmen San Diego games?
No.
Ah, I was a Spy Fox kid. Fat and Putt Putt. Get around it.
And Freddy Fish.
Freddy
Whatever it is.
Fish. What
Spy
the-
vs.
is that
Spy.
right?
There you go.
Where he sounded old, man.
Very good.
I know. That's just when you said spy, that's the first thing I thought of.
Thunderbirds.
Very good. Okay, let's kick it to the news. Actually, no, sorry. There is a discussion topic here. I'm going to read straight from the doco here. But someone has written that I've never seen Zach Jackson and Steven Seagal in the same place. Question mark. So
Holy shit. It's not wrong.
You're
Not
welcome.
wrong.
not wrong. Anyway, Adam, you gonna hit up the news?
God, that got me.
Mate, I'd love to. It's been an odd little week for news. There's essentially a new new GTA, a new Rockstar studio, kinda sorta, and it's kinda sorta the LA Noire developer. Okay, so to explain, Rockstar has acquired. Now I can never remember what they used to be called because it was a name that
It's
was
like good
Video
quality
Games
or
Video Games Deluxe. Every time
Yeah.
I read it, I'm like, where's the name of the studio?
Yeah.
They have acquired Video Games Deluxe, and it is now Rockstar Australia. So this was the studio led by Brendan McNamara, who was around for LA Noire back when it was Team Bondi that was taking care of that game. So it's a weird kind of full circle moment where Team Bondi died and then McNamara went on to found a new studio. And they've been like a long partner with Rockstar anyway. They did work on the LA Noire remaster as well as the VR title, and they also did work for the GTA trilogy as well. The definitive bullshit terrible rain, whatever that was called. Yes, Zach Jackson.
I just want to do a little sidebar. I got the LA Noire remake. I've never played it, but it's a game I've really wanted to play.
Oh.
The consensus is that game is very good, right?
It
Okay.
was loved when it came out, and critically, I think it did very well. I don't think time has been very kind to it.
Correct.
But okay, so I enjoyed it when I played it when it first came out. I would never go back to it. I think is kind of
Interesting.
where I am.
It's a remaster. Sorry, I might have
It's
said
a-
remake.
Yeah. It's a remaster, so it's just
Right,
kind
yeah,
of,
yeah,
you know,
okay.
sanding off the edges and whatnot.
right.
But yeah, so like, I don't know if there's going to be, I don't know if this is really going to change a great deal. Like, they were already kind of in bed with Rockstar anyway. I think widely it's good for the Australian game dev scene, I suppose, because it's a big name, right? It's a massive thing to have Rockstar slapped on the front of your building, and to have a Rockstar studio in Australia, I think is great. Like, I'd imagine, you know, it probably perks the ears up of potential publishers to kind of go sniffing around the scene. So I think by and large, it's a good thing. It's a headline that maybe looks more important for Rockstar as a whole than it is. But I think from our perspective, living here and supporting the local games industry, I think it's really good from that respect. So yeah, an odd one, but a good one. Back to news that we have actually covered at well-played.com.au. The PSVR 2 is fucking expensive, right? We can all agree on that. It costs more than a PS5, which you need to run it. Bit shit. Don't stress, Zach. You'll be able to pick one up for much cheaper now. They are $649.95. Unbelievable. Still fucking expensive. I can't imagine that they're going to shift a huge amount of units based off just lowering the price. They should probably release a few games for it as well. Crazy idea. But it's good, right? Maybe when Gorn 2 comes out, they'll see a massive spike in popularity.
But there's just no games, right? That's the thing. There's no games for this thing.
Yeah, essentially,
Well,
dude. So there's
very very little games. I should say there's not
yeah,
no games.
it relies way too heavily on third party shit like Beat Saber, like Gorn.
Yeah.
It's a thing, and I've had this title written out for a feature a million times. But if I think if PlayStation don't want to support their innovations, they should stop innovating. Like they do these wonderful things, like with the Vita. The Vita was a wonderful little handheld. Didn't support it, let it die. The PlayStation, the original PSVR was surprisingly good for its price point, which wasn't as ridiculous at the time. They let it die. PSVR 2 is a fucking phenomenal VR headset. That thing is incredible, and they're letting it die. Like it's a trend that we see with PlayStation. It just far too often. So just if you're not willing to properly back your innovations, then just stop doing it. Like, what's the point?
There's
I
no
think like this.
So no, you go. Sorry, no, you go. You go.
I was just gonna say, I think this price drop, like the best thing that's come out of this is just knowing that they still think about the PlayStation VR 2.
100%.
Because like they've had like late last year we got Metro, like the Metro VR game, and Skydance's Behemoth, which are both like on their own could have been killer apps, but like they just weren't willing to talk about them, and they came out and nobody noticed. So
yeah, the most they seem to do is a PlayStation blog post saying, at this state of play, there will be a whole bunch of exciting shit and 2 PSVR 2 titles that they focus on for collectively like 3 minutes, and then they move on. And it's seen as the piss break of the showcase. So like if you're not going to give it importance, then why would anyone give a fuck, right? Like, I don't know. I could complain about it all day, but it is a price drop, so hopefully, I don't know, if people just randomly start buying the shit out of these, then maybe it will force Sony's hand to do something with it. I highly doubt it, but I don't know.
You could get a PlayStation 5 and a VR 2 for the same price as a PS5 Pro, and I think that's a better deal than the PS5.
That objectively is a better deal. We can agree on that for sure.
Sorry, Zach.
No, I was just say they don't actually have a dedicated VR studio anymore, correct? They shut them.
Since they axed London.
Yeah.
I don't think they do. That's
see that like that is wild to me. They've got this hardware, but they've got no one developing for it.
Yeah, go buy one.
That was your mate, Jimbo.
Prior to love Dad. Prior to me having a good old complaint about Warner Brothers, because guaranteed I'll go off the fucking rails on that one. Kieron, do you want to have a quick little chat to us about some Pokemon related news?
Yeah, so there was a Pokemon Presents to celebrate Pokemon Day, and as you'd expect, they talked about Pokemon. There was some cool news, like they're doing a second season of Pokemon Concierge, which is the little stop motion animated Netflix series, which is amazing.
Really
adorable.
And the only bad thing about it was how short the episodes and the season as a whole were, so to know we're getting more is great. Pokemon Champions looks kind of cool. They're basically just doing Pokemon Stadium, but for Switch and mobile with crossplay compatibility. So I feel like people are going to get into that. I feel like they're sort of like sectioning off these little aspects of what makes Pokemon great and putting them into bespoke apps like the trading card game, Pokemon Go, Stadium. I feel like that's a really good direction for them to go in. There's a bunch of news about games that people don't care about, like Pokemon Sleep and Scarlet and Violet, whatever. But the big ticket item obviously was a first look at gameplay from Pokemon Legends ZA, which is the follow-up to Legends Arceus or Arceus, however you want to call it. And that's kind of their next big Pokemon title for the Switch. Probably also the Switch too, but they're only calling it a Switch game at the moment. It looks cool, I guess. They've shaken up the battle system a little bit, so it's a little bit more like Xenoblade Chronicles in a lot of ways. You kind of just like pivoting around the battlefield and doing attacks on a cooldown, so it's not turn-based. People aren't happy about the way it looks, which is a recurring theme with Pokemon games on the Switch. The previous Legends game had a really strong art style. It was set in the Hisui region, which was very like Japanese themed, like ancient kind of just had a vibe that was very strong. Even if the technical stuff wasn't great, it looked cohesive. With this one, they're kind of just leaning back on the Pokemon Sword and Shield, Scarlet and Violet, like cookie cutter towns and whatnot. And a little bit of a lack of cohesion, a lack of a strong art direction. People are not happy about that.
It looks to
But
me
yeah,
like a game that you would see someone playing in a movie. I'm pretty sure I said this in the Slack
a
channel at
little
some
bit.
point. Like it
Yeah.
looks like
Oh, that's when
a
we got into
vertical
Charlie's
slice.
Angels.
Yeah, that's exactly right. All roads lead back to Charlie's Angels if you look closely enough. But yeah, it has no character or charm or
Yeah.
anything. It's just a game. It's just
For a game with
game.
900 fucking characters, it has very little of its own.
Yeah. Ah, that's good.
Yeah,
People will fucking play it anyway. Who gives a shit?
yeah, it's gonna sell billions.
Yeah. People love it. Well, you know what, Kieran, I'm really glad that you had that lovely little uplifting moment in there because now I'm going to bring the mood back down again. WB Games, the fucking bane of my existence. They've cancelled the Wonder Woman game, which is, I mean, probably to be expected, but shit on its own. And then they decided to close 3 of their studios, including Monolith Productions, who were working on Wonder Woman and were a fantastic and very tenured team. This is fucking shit. There's no like sugarcoating it. It's just an awful thing to have happened. I think the writing was on the wall for Wonder Woman very much. Jason Schreier had recently reported that the game had already cost Warner Brothers $100 million, and it wasn't getting anywhere close to releasing. It was still years out, and it's had reworks left and right. It had the Nemesis system in it, and it was going to be, for those not aware, that's the system that was in the Middle Earth games where you would defeat an orc or an orc would defeat you, and then they'd grow in strength, and they'd be kind of like you would create a nemesis, essentially. That was going to be forced into it because, of course, it was. That got pulled out late in the game, and they had to restart development. So it was a troubled game, to say the least. But that's probably because Monolith didn't want to work on Wonder Woman. It's been reported that Monolith wanted to focus on their own game and their own IP, and they would, probably use the Nemesis system, that thing that WB have patented and kept under lock and key. They said, nah, we'd really prefer you to use one of our established properties, so we're going to force you to do that instead. So, it's corporate mismanagement, right? It's instead of trusting your creatives to do creative things and produce good results, and, people will love the things that they've loved them for in the past, you try and force a square peg into a round hole, and then you are confused as to why that doesn't work. And what do you do when that happens? You take it out on the creatives that are just doing their fucking job. The other teams that were shuttered as well, Player First Games, this one's a bit of a joke as well, was the new team. So they were created in 2019 that made Multiverses, the platform fighter that's similar to Smash Bros, but with Warner Brothers characters. It was weird, but I reviewed it, I think, in 2022, maybe. I can't quite remember. I actually really liked it. The release strategy was a fucking farce. It came out sort of in early access that you could pay for it and you could had microtransactions out the ass. And then they said, oh, we're actually going to take the game completely offline. It was for like 9 months or a year. It was a really, really long time. And then it just kind of, without any fanfare, dropped back onto digital platforms, digital storefronts, pardon me, and it kind of died a death. They acquired this studio in July of last year. So they acquired the studio, even though the game was already at that point kind of doing poorly, and then 6 to 9 months later, they have now shuttered them and they no longer exist. So shout outs to them. And the last studio was Warner Brothers San Diego, which was essentially, from what I can see, is very much a support studio, and they've been working on free to play mobile titles as well. So, yeah, long story short,
Mm.
Warner Brothers have fumbled the bag once again. It's a very common thread. Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League was an unbelievable failure, and one in a long line that Warner Brothers has been making, both in and out of the games industry. But this shows to me that they just have no real footing in the games industry in the long term. Like, it was something. It seems pretty obvious that it's something they looked at and thought we could make a buck out of this. And now that cash cow isn't producing as much, they just don't give a fuck anymore. I think that is kind of the brass tacks of it. But I've had a big rant. Do any of you boys have any thoughts or feelings on the matter?
I've got some thoughts, but mine's probably a bit longer. Does anyone else have anything?
Yeah, I've got
JB?
some feelings. They're just
Fe-
sad.
Yeah, we've all got feelings.
Yeah.
Okay.
What's your thoughts?
Give us very, very sad news. But not overly surprising. I mean, Monolith hadn't done anything in like 8 years. Right. Like, it's been like a long time. Like, we're getting like, and the way that Wonder Woman was going, it'll be a decade since they released the game. What is shit is that the devs who work there, they're going to have that like a 10-year or 8-year gap in there.
Yes.
But what I actually didn't realize, and I was listening to, I don't know what it was, but Jason Schreier was on it. I think it might have been kind of funny, I think.
Yeah.
And he was on it, but I didn't know that when they didn't get approved to do their own IP, all the basically main people left. All the directors left. So in a lot of ways, this is not the same Monolith as before. I know that some of the, not lower people, but some of the non-directors, some just the employees remained and that. But from a leadership point of view, this is not the same studio.
Yep.
So they were they kind of stuck it to Warner Brothers. I think this is a clean slate. I think in some ways, I think they're trimming the fat. I think they know that, because he was saying that there's actually a new guy in charge, right? So a lot of the shit that they had done previously was from an older guy in charge. And this seems like that they're just going to push forward with what they've got now and focus on those big IPs. And it makes sense, right?
Yes.
Like it makes sense that they would, because they've got lots of IPs to use.
Yes,
So
that's probably worth touching on. Apologies to interrupt, but yeah, in the statement that WB released, they did say that this restructuring is so that they can get the best out of their games portfolio from franchises Harry Potter, Mortal Kombat, DC, and Game of Thrones. So they did specify that that's what they're looking at going forward. Sorry, Zach.
That's right. I mean, DC is very broad, but I would find I would think that is probably quite contained to Batman for the time being. But it's going to be interesting to see.
I'd wager it'll be only Batman. When they say DC, I think they mean Batman.
Surely someone makes a Superman game.
No.
I don't like Superman really, but don't people like Superman?
They love the Superman video games.
Yeah.
What? Are there any Superman video games? Or is that a joke?
64, baby.
Right.
Terrible shit.
What's another big DC property? Oh, you got Batman. Who's after Batman?
Suicide Squad, baby. Clearly.
Oh, mate. Green Lantern, baby.
Yeah.
Green Lantern also has a good track record with video games. You're right. That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's depressing. Warner Brothers can suck a fat one. That's my official stance.
Nice.
Speaking of things that are dead and buried, Twisted Metal's cancelled live service game, according to reports, would have been a live service, and it would have been a battle royale. Shock horror, I guess. I'll be honest. Of all games, I don't think it kind of fits. Right? I think Twisted Metal if you were to do like a pure Twisted Metal sequel, I think that shit would sink. I don't think there is an appetite for just a third-person car combat game in the current market. I think back on PS2, absolutely, that shit was fantastic. I don't know if that would have flown in today's market. So the to explain a little bit further, there's screenshots that have leaked from a UI programmer, as well as some other details here and there to say that, yeah, it would have been chuck you all in a big arena, last person to survive wins, battle royale kind of style thing. And you'd also be able to get out of your car and there would be third person kind of like shooting combat on foot as well, which sounds a bit trash, but all in all, I mean, it's cancelled, isn't it? So now we're just left with just the TV show, which feels a bit weird. But I don't know. I think it would have fit better than just a flat Twisted Metal game, I guess.
Sounds exactly like Destruction All Stars.
That's what I was thinking of. That's what
I really liked. I really liked it.
I went back
through. Was the audience.
I went back through our So for those who don't know, we actually did an article back in 2023 where we kind of all of us spitballed a new Twisted Metal game. My pitch was actually pretty close, not like spot on, but it was half vehicular combat and half, I said, first person, and it was an extraction game. So
yeah,
kind of.
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you, reading the other six, it's closer than all those. So.
I said management sim. I was real far off.
I would actually take
what the market's begging for.
Zach, I know we've butted heads about first-person driving before, but I would take a fully first-person Twisted Metal and like on-foot game.
Yeah, fuck with that.
There's a deep cut like on that. Me and the guy from Dying Light, we at the very end of the interview, it came up about first person stuff, and I was like, he plays first person driving games as well, and I got all excited. And then he's like, yeah, I do. And he goes, do you have one with the hood? I'm like, no, flat. And he goes, oh no, like I'm behind the wheel. And he goes, you are an idiot or something like.
Yeah, like who plays with the hood? Like it's like strapping yourself to the windscreen. No. How far forward do you put your seat when you drive, mate?
Oh, I'm very
for sure.
I got short legs, mate.
Yeah.
It all checks out.
I'm like the reverse T-Rex, mate.
He's on the hood with like strings controlling the wheel, and Anna's doing the pedals.
Oh my god.
That
that is it for news. But before we move to off topics, that article you were talking about, 7 Ways to Reboot Twisted Metal. I just want to read the first line of James's pitch because it absolutely killed me, which is, all right, so how about Twisted Metal, but make it gay? That is all.
What do you mean make it gay?
Yeah, wasn't it already? Has he not played these games?
My pitch for a reboot is Twisted Metal Runaways. Here you go. That's what he's saying. A tale of two fully customizable lovers who are forced on the run when the scary clown or the Calippo icy pole get mad at them. Sure.
Calypso.
That's great.
Who edited this?
Oh my god.
Brilliant.
Who won the result? There's actually a poll here.
You and Ash tied.
Oh, did we?
Is that poll still open?
It is. I just voted for myself.
Very nice. Very good. All right. Let's hit the off topics. We have a 2000s film of the week, and Mr. Ryan, you're back on the mic.
We do. I've checked, and this time I'm not repeating myself, so shout outs. All right. So this one, 2005. Run time of 1 hour 41 minutes. Here we have it. Two young brothers are drawn into an intergalactic adventure when their house is hurtled through the depths of space by a magical board game they are playing.
Oh, this is the Zarathustra. That's the fucking Jumanji spin-off.
It is. It is. I am going to want the title though, Nathan.
Fuck. There was even a video game spin-off of it too.
Yeah, also fucking trash. Yeah, bad, real bad.
I know the name eludes me
because it's a terrible name. It's Zathura, a space adventure.
Zarathustra.
Never heard of it before in my life.
It's dreadful. I mean, I might, finish this recording and go watch it right now, but it is terrible.
Why did I think
It's
that
bad.
happened in like the late 90s?
Because it's got a late
I'd-
90s vibe.
Yeah,
I'd cast that
it's kind of
far
where it
back
would
into the
belong.
depths of my mind.
It's got Josh
Mm.
Hutcherson. There you go.
Sure. What else has he been
Wow.
been in? Sure.
He was in
Hudson
Five Nights
Trap.
at Freddy's, you dork.
Mm,
Oh, Josh Hudson, Future Man.
Future Man.
There you
Right.
go.
If you haven't seen Future Man, fucking great.
Is that a cartoon?
Nah, it's a comedy. Wow.
Is that one of your Japanese cartoons, Nathan?
I told you they're Chinese.
All right. Any?
Ah.
What else is? Oh, what else? God, I can't talk. What is? What has? I can't talk.
Oh,
What have people been watching the last week? Nathan, what have you been putting your eyeballs on?
watch the Oscars, eh? That was a
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
yeah. I watched that during the day and realised it's probably been a couple of years since I've exposed myself to commercial television. What a mire of depravity our commercial television is. The ads fucking suck.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
bad.
Lost a bit of my mind. Was pleased that Nora swept. Yeah, that was what I
Yeah.
was personally gunning for. So it was vindicating to be like, oh, a personal pick that's actually critical consensus. Nice.
Nice.
Adrian Brody's speech sucked ass. So I don't know what the fuck that guy was on about. He was like getting played off stage. He's like, no. I've been here before. Let me finish. I'll be quick. Proceeds for another 3 minutes. Just rambling.
Oh, that's
About anything
unfortunate.
in particular, or
No, he was just proven to the academies that because he's up there a second time after a hiatus, he's just going to make sure they don't forget him. It was very arrogant because it was meandering. He didn't make any points. He's just like, I'm up here. I'm going to make sure y'all watch me for as long as possible. Whilst they did the sound award like 3 awards behind, and they played him off after 30 seconds.
Nice. Classy.
shout outs?
Yeah,
Adam.
so he got best actor, but I haven't seen The Brutalist yet.
He is excellent in The Brutalist,
yeah,
to be
I
fair.
was about to ask. Would you give him your Oscar?
Yeah, mate, absolutely.
The
Good
only
heart,
one
I'd
I'd
give him
seen
my
in
Oscar.
that, the only one I'd seen in those nominees was Sebastian Stan as Trump in the Apprentice, which is really good.
Really?
Well,
Yeah,
I
good man.
liked his rendition of Trump anyway.
All right. Fuck all. Nothing for me this week. I'm real boring. Sorry.
Yep. Kieran, what have you been on? Fuck all.
Nothing.
He
Yeah,
doesn't watch
yeah.
Fuck
movies.
all. I'm really boring this week. I don't watch movies.
Yep. Shout outs.
Have you heard?
I finished The Madness, which was that show I was watching. It was fine.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was fine. I give it a 6.5, probably. It's fine. Not sure what's next. Might try and watch something a bit foreign, spice up a bit. Also went and saw Goo Goo Dolls on Sunday night. I know
Oi.
everyone's excited about that.
Look
pretty good.
out. Did they play that one song?
That one song.
They've got more than one song, but yes, they did play that one song. It was also
Did
very.
they play it twice?
Yeah.
No, but it was like I thought they would have made a deal about it because that's a big song, right? Like that's
Did they do the whole make a statement by just
No.
dropping it in the middle of the set?
No. They just the set was like 23 songs or 24 songs or something like that, and they just finished the fucking 23rd one or whatever it was straight into it. Here
I
you go.
mean, no fucking around. You don't have
I
to do the
know.
whole offstage on bullshit. We all
But,
know
you know,
the
but
stroking egos.
not so much that, but it's just I don't know, maybe just something. But just now I went bang into it.
So you want to be wined and dined a little bit before you get there.
No, we'll just I don't know. I bet you all know this one, or I don't know something. I don't know. I'm not the fucking Google Dome.
Brings out Flavor Flav. Can I get some excitement? Please.
But no, it was a good show. Good,
Open this
good
shit
little.
up.
Yeah, it was all seating. The entire
Oh,
thing.
how
Yeah.
awkward.
That's when you know you're in for.
But you got to
rough
remember
upset.
the Goo Goo Dolls like fan base is starting to age.
Well, they're old man.
Most
They're
of them have shoddy knees.
They're in their 60s, or about to be in their 60s.
Jesus.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
Fair
weird.
play.
Like,
Did they have? Were they seated as well?
no, they were actually quite mobile.
Quite mobile.
Quite mobile is glowing praise.
You should have seen
For
their
a
walkers,
gig.
mate.
Very Very, very
Oh,
good. Kieron, while we're on the topic of concerts, you should book tickets to Bill Murray. Don't
Why?
be a dog.
When's it? June? Is it June?
It's Kieron's
I got time.
KS's
They're not
40th.
going to sell out.
Well, it
Love
did
Bill
sell out.
Murray.
Did you know that?
Oh, well, then fuck, I can't go, can I?
It sold. Well, no, like the sold out in 3 hours. I missed out the first time. Sold out in 3 hours, and they venue upgraded to the Forum.
Nice.
So there you go.
But it hasn't sold out now?
Don't know. I haven't looked.
Okay.
Fair enough.
Jesus
What was the
Christ.
first venue? A broom closet?
170 Russell. I was
Oh,
quite
so same
surprised.
thing.
I was quite surprised as well. Anyway, anything else we want to talk about?
Nah, send us home.
Send
My
us
pizza's on the way.
your what'd you order?
Just a classic Americano.
Yeah, nice. Normal,
Solid.
normal mozzarella.
Yeah.
Nice.
Nathan's shitting himself just at the thought.
I'm ready.
Here's a little story for you. Just on the top. No, it's very, very quick on the topic of that. I was walking with a friend the other day, and we're getting coffee. And normally she gets oat milk because not full cream milk, does things to her. Anyway, so we're ordering, and I was like, so latte with oat milk, and she goes, no, iced latte. Cool, like no worries, all good. Get it, walk away, and I was like, hang on a minute, don't you get oat milk? And she's like, shit. Oh well, we'll just hope for the best. So look,
That's anyone with an intolerance to lactose, is that they always have that moment where they're like, rolling the dice today, boys. Here we
yeah,
go.
the interesting thing was that she was working for me like that day. So
Oh, no.
So you just had a glimpse into your future by her saying that. Yeah, nice.
nah, look, all
Right,
worked out
just
well.
thinking about paid toilet breaks, mate.
That's it. That's it. All right. Well, thank you for listening to this week's episode of the WellPlayed DLC podcast, episode 244 if you're counting along at home. You can check out all the content on www.well-played.com.au. Don't know if anything cool is going up at the end of the week, maybe. Who knows? But you can check out our YouTube for where you'll find the Dying Light, the Beast interview. That is wellplayed_AU. That's the same handle as, excuse me, as Twitter, and you can find us on Blue Sky at WellPlayed. Facebook is there. I don't remember what that is, but it's WellPlayed. You'll find us. Just think about it, and you'll
Look
see
for
it.
the teal.
Look for the teal. Look for the really old cover photo. That's all games from last year. That will be the deck
Shout-outs.
giveaway.
That'll clue you.
All right, lads, a pleasure.
Cheer-e-ho.
See you next week.
Bye now.